Hallelujah. There's something about that name, Jesus, especially at commencement time. Something about that name, Jesus. We thank God for this amazing gospel choir, for the music that has blessed us this day. There's something about music and us that just goes together. And so I thank God for the rich music ministry that we have been blessed with this day. Let me salute and thank God for the inimitable leadership of our presiding prelate, our Bishop Starnes. I thank God for him and for his sterling leadership. He is a gift to the body of Christ, a gift to our time. I salute him. I also thank God for the outstanding and visionary president of this outstanding institution, Dr. Davis. Dr. Davis, as has been stated by the bishop, has done so much in 3 years that it has literally revolutionized not just this school, but the life of HBCUs all over this country. And so I thank God for his leadership. I also want to salute the outstanding trustees. So many of them are preaching heroes of mine, and so it is intimidating to stand here in their presence, but I am honored and humbled to be here. I was just here a few months ago, and I was so excited about the opportunity and blessed by it that I sent a series of anonymous emails to the president and to the bishop, and I said in the anonymous emails, we really need to have him back for commencement. And so I want to thank you all for responding to my anonymous emails. That's how I got here. But I do appreciate this opportunity and honor. I want to also really shout out our amazing honorees, the class of classes. I'm talking about the class of 25 that's all the way live. I salute you for what you have accomplished. This class is to be saluted because a class that could begin in a pandemic and then come out on top. If you can come through a pandemic, there's nothing in front of you that can get in the way of you becoming the you that God wants you to be. So shout out to this class, shout out to your family, your supporting cast that made it possible, and shout out to the golden and the silver classes that have shown us how to get it done. Today I want to talk about I went from negative to positive. I went from negative to positive. I think it's MC Light who raps, you can be what you want to be, but let negativity run you, it'll ruin your destiny. MC Light, in a real sense, is declaring that all of us can fulfill our God-given possibilities. We have a date with destiny that we are divinely designed and cosmically created to keep. One more time, MC Light says you can be what you want to be, but let negativity run you, it'll ruin your destiny. But let's keep it a buck. There are negatives that have a way of intercepting our itinerary. There are negatives that have a way of precluding our possibilities. All of us know something about negatives. I think it's Langston Hughes who put it down like this. When Langston angrily asked what happens to a dream deferred, and then responded, from river to river, uptown and down, there's liable to be confusion when your dreams get kicked around. Negatives because of a dream that had been kicked around. If y'all didn't feel Langston Hughes, then maybe Kendrick Lamar will grab your attention, because K-Dot puts it down like this: my life is a drama twisted by plots I did not see. I hope y'all get what what Kendrick is saying. Kendrick is saying that in this life you can know your lines and star on stage, and then the scene will shift on you. People will invade your scene, and before you know it, a negative has replaced the positive that you are trying to put down. I'm just suggesting that MC Light is on to something when MC one more time throws down like this. You can be what you want to be, but let negativity run you. It'll ruin your destiny. I'm not coming through. I'll make it real plain. A few years ago, ornithologists were tracking the treacherous trek of a migratory bird that they named Hope. Watch this. Hope had placed on her back this tracking device, and Hope, my brothers and sisters, every single September would make the treacherous trek from Nova Scotia up near the Mackenzie River Delta in Canada down the East Coast with a destination. Here it is of a destination in the Caribbean of this beautiful island. And here is what happened. Hope had taken off. She had commenced her journey when all of a sudden an unseasonal tropical storm hit out of nowhere. She was hit by a hurricane where the rains were relentless and the headwinds were hard. Hope, watch this, had commenced her journey on her way down south to a marvelous island there in the Caribbean, only to be hit by an unseasonable, unexpected hurricane. I park right there because that's a metaphor for what you, the class of 25, is going to have to deal with. Here you are commencing a journey after doing all you have done brilliantly and powerfully. Here you are, a class that was birthed, as it were, in a pandemic that was problematic, and yet today you are crossing this stage to receive your degree and commence a journey. As you commence, watch this. Here's what happened to Hope. Hope was hit by the hurricane, and when she was hit by the hurricane, all of a sudden the signal was lost to those scientists. The scientists lost hope in a storm. I'm gonna go back and grab you because you missed your shout. Hope was lost in a storm. Hope had commenced her journey only to have hope lost in a storm. You can be what you want to be, but let negativity run you. It'll ruin your destiny. It'll ruin your destiny with a storm. And here we are in 25, hit by the hurricane, a political storm where, watch this, the treacherous winds of Project 2025 are blowing us back into a pre-1955 world. The hurricane has hit and it's downright negative. It is such a treacherous hurricane that all of a sudden DEI is the new N word, and as a consequence, a country that claims the value e pluribus unum, which means out of many one, is waging war on diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's something hypocritical in the practice of a democracy that wages war on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm just saying, hope has taken off and been hit by a storm. And the storm, my sisters and brothers, if you are not careful, it will ruin your destiny because it's downright negative. But here's the good news. My subject is, I will went from negative to positive. Y'all got to admit that my subject is fly, it's fire, but it's not original with me. I borrow my subject from the notorious B.I.G. Biggie put it down like this in his song as he was reflecting on his own upbringing and where he was in spite of what had been done to him, in spite of those who had turned on him and told on him. Listen to what Biggie said. Biggie said, damn right, I like the life I live because I went from negative to positive. And y'all, it dawned on me, here we are at the Livingstone College, and y'all started in a pandemic. That's negative, but you're graduating today. That's positive. You went from negative to positive. But isn't that in our DNA to go from negative to positive? Think about it. Harriet Tubman went from the negative of enslavement to the positive of being the Moses of our people. Frederick Douglass went from the negative of the brutality of the most egregious evil, enslavement in the history of humanity, to becoming the silver-tongued prophet of freedom. He went from negative to positive. Ida Bell Wells went from the negative of having her own shop shut down by vicious racists to becoming a liberator and fighter against the terror of lynching in this nation. Y'all still missing your shout. Rosa Parks went from being arrested on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, to igniting the civil rights movement, or the second reconstruction of these United States. We have it in our DNA to go from negative to positive. And the question becomes, how in the midst of the negatives that we are dealing with today, how in the midst of an all-out assault on our history with a determination to erase the richness of our history, how can we go from negative to positive in the midst of a totalitarian mindset that is coming from the corridors of power? How can we go from negative to positive? I'm glad you asked. Number one, you go from negative to positive, and this may shout you right here when you understand that those in power ain't got nothing on your superpower. If you do you, boo. I'm gonna do that one more time because y'all missed your shout right there. Those in power ain't got nothing on your superpower as long as you recognize the power in knowing who you are, being true to who you are. You got to do you, boo, because just because they have position, it doesn't mean that they have the power. I guess I'll give it to y'all like this. You do know that in a real sense, Abraham Lincoln had position, but it was Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth and William Lloyd Garrison. They had the power. Y'all didn't get that. Y'all do know Woodrow Wilson was in position, but Du Bois and Paul Robeson, they had the power. Y'all do know that George Wallace was in position, but Rosa Parks, Martin King, and Fred Shuttlesworth, they had the power. Y'all didn't get it. I got to go Bible. Pharaoh had position, but Moses had the power. Saul had position, but David had the power. Zedekiah had position, but Jeremiah had the power. I'll give y'all one more. Y'all know I'm a preacher. Pilate had position, but Jesus said, don't nobody take my life. I lay it down, and if I lay it down, I'll pick it back up again. All I'm trying to say to the class of 25 in the White House, they've got the position, but y'all have the power. And since you have the power, make sure you're true to who you are and do you, boo. Do you, boo. Do do you. Y'all didn't get that. I'll testify if you don't mind. I'll testify. Let me share this with you. My father died my very first day of high school. My father, Frederick Douglas Haynes Jr., was up, Bishop, in the pulpit of Third Baptist Church in San Francisco. And Bishop Morris, he's up in the pulpit of Third Baptist in San Francisco introducing our guest preacher. He has a stroke of the brain that snatches his life from him 3 days later, which happened to be my first day of high school. The day after the funeral, I went back to school. And when I went back to school, check out what happened. My first class was English composition, and we were given an essay to write. I testify that I stained my paper with my tears because I'm messed up, toe up from the flow up, because my father, my hero, has been snatched from me. He was only 46 years old, and here I am having to go on after my dad had passed. Check out what happened. I wrote the essay to the best of my ability. The next day, I show up in class, the English composition class. Miss Anderson, she's the teacher. Miss Anderson calls me out in front of all of my peers, friends, associates, classmates, and has me to come up to retrieve my paper that was marked in red with an F plus at the top of it. She told me, you don't have the skills to write at high school level, so I'm going to send you to a remedial class. Y'all, I'm dead. I'm done. And so I exit her class, not to go where she was sending me, but to leave that school building at Abraham Lincoln High School because my dad was dead. She told me I could not write. But while I'm exiting that building, I hear my name called. Fredrick, where are you going? It's Homazel Davis. Homazel Davis was my teacher and counselor in Afro-American literature. She called me by name. She said, Frederick, where are you going? I said, Miss Davis, here. I can't write. My dad is dead. I'm done. I'm dropping out. Miss Davis said, who told you you can't write? I said, Miss Anderson told me I can't write. She said, no, it's not that you can't write. She can't teach. And so what I'm going to do, I'm put you into a class with someone who can teach. I said, but Miss Davis, I don't have the skills. I don't have the will. My dad is dead. She said, your name is Frederick Douglass. You know who you're named after. So you need to go ahead and live into and up to the name that you carry. I said, but Miss Davis, Miss Anderson said I can't write. She said, Frederick, you're going to be, though she called me Frederick Douglass, Frederick Douglass, you're going to be a leader amongst our people. You have oratorical skills that will cause you to motivate the masses. You're going places. As a matter of fact, I declare you're going to be the first African-American valedictorian in the history of this school. I said, but Miss Davis, Miss Anderson said I can't write. She said, are you going to listen to Miss Anderson who can't teach, or to Miss Davis who believes in you and is going to pray for you? And y'all, I got to tell you, when she called me Frederick Douglass, from that day forward, I began to walk like a valedictorian. I began to think like a valedictorian. I began to talk like a valedictorian. I handled my homework like a valedictorian. Can I tell y'all what happened? June 15th, 1978, I led my class down the aisle of Abraham Lincoln High School auditorium, and check out what happened. They had the teachers sit on the front row in alphabetical order. Miss Anderson sat right there. I walked by Miss Anderson on my way to the stage and said in the language of Kool Moe Dee, how do you like me now? Not bad for a brother who can't write. Listen, I lived into who I was, and as a consequence became what I became in spite of what somebody said about me. I just came to tell y'all, It's 2025. Project 25 is trying to erase you, but do you, boo. Do what God has invested in you. Who are you? You're the head and not the tail. Who are you? You're on top and not on bottom. You're a child of the King, and that makes you royalty. You are descendants of kings and queens and great ones who discovered mathematics, the number pi, built the great pyramids, saw the stars that bedeck the heavens as bling bling of eternity. And before Columbus got lost and Copernicus had a telescope, they discerned the earth was not flat but round. Do you, boo? It's in your DNA. And when you do you've got a superpower that can overcome any other power that may come your way. I got to keep it moving. There's something else I want to share, and this is going to shout you right here, and that is negatives are going to put you in a dark place, but that's where you develop your new pictures. That was good right there. Y'all missed your shout. Negatives may put you in a dark place, but that ain't where you give up. That's where you squabble up. And when you squabble up, that's when you discover your negatives in a dark place produce new pictures. I like that. I like that. Let me call an AME Zion to the stage by the name of Harriet Tubman. Y'all know that Harriet Tubman, this is going to shout you. Harriet got between, as a teenager, a runaway and an overseer. The overseer hurled an iron object in the direction of the runaway. It hits Harriet in the head. She passes out. And for the rest of her life, she was subjected to unexpected, inexplicable times where she would pass out. She would pass out, but check this out. It's when she was passed out in a dark place that Harriet would receive a vision of where to go next. She would receive a vision hearing from God about what God was trying to do in ordering her steps and ordering her stops. I got to go back and grab you because you missed your shout. What was meant for evil, she got hit by an iron object through the hand of an overseer, and yet when it knocked her out, it gave her a connection with the creator of the cosmos. And while she was out, she would hear from heaven to have direction to handle hell on earth. I'm gonna give y'all time to shout right there, but in that dark place, she caught a vision of where it was she was taking people, because y'all do know that Harriet became the woman called Moses. Harriet took at least 13 trips down south and rescued many who found themselves emancipated because of her exploits. And while she was leading them to freedom, sometimes she would pass out. And I told Harriet I had to converse with her. I was speaking at Livingstone's commencement. I said, Harriet, what should I tell the class of 25? Tell them, Frederick, I've been watching them, and they just need to know they can make it, because even when it's dark, that's when you can catch a vision and see the light of where God is taking you. I said, but Harriet, how did that thing work? Harriet said, well, it's this simple. As long as I was conscious, I was working for God. Knowing when I was unconscious, God was working for me. I gotta let y'all go. Here's the last thing and I'm done. And that is, whatever else you do, class of 25, take the stone with you. You missed your shout, so I'm gonna go ahead and shout you right there. Take the stone with you. So much has been poured in you. Many of you are the answer to prayers that were prayed. Others of you had parents and loved ones sacrificed to make sure that you are where you are and you're going where God intends for you to go. You didn't get here by yourself. You got here because somebody prayed for you. They had you on their mind. You didn't get here by yourself. You got here because somebody sacrificed to make it happen for you. Why? Because all of us are the product of community. So never forget your community as you move forward. Take the stone with you, because y'all, as you take some stones with you, you're going to discover Goliath is out there. But here's the good news. David said, I took some stones with me, and all I needed was one stone to knock out a giant who was much bigger than myself. Take the stone with you. Take the values of this college with you. Take the stone with you. Take what was poured into you and pour it into the world. Take the stone with you. After all, you are a living stone. Y'all will catch that next month. I'm simply trying to say, take the stone with you. Okay, all right. I see what's happening and I feel it. I love it. Y'all are concerned about that bird, hope, because you sitting here saying, okay, this is a good speech, but what happened to hope in the hurricane? Did we lose hope in the storm? No, we didn't lose hope in the storm. Here it is, and I'm done. Hope, my sisters and brothers, all of a sudden, the tracking device was picked up by the ornithologist. The scientists picked up that hope, watch this, was now in the eye of the storm. Hope had somehow flown through the headwinds of the hurricane and reached the eye of the storm. And then she reached, as she kept on flapping, she reached the part of the storm where headwinds carried her. And hope ended up on an island in the Caribbean ahead of schedule, because hope kept on flapping in the hurricane. She kept on flapping against the headwinds. She kept on flapping in the eye, and she then was propelled by a tailwind. And all I'm trying to say to the class of 25, y'all keep on flapping, because if you keep on flapping, you can handle the headwinds. No weapon formed against you is going to prosper. Keep on flapping, because the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Y'all keep on flapping, because God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in the time of trouble. Y'all keep on flapping, because if you keep on flapping, when they come for you and you didn't send for them, you've got that squabble up power. I thought y'all would get with me on squabble up, because that ain't original with me. That's real LA. In LA, squabble up means either dance or it means ready to fight. Ain't that just like black folk? Black folk, watch this, know how to celebrate, but we also are ready to fight when it's time to handle up. And y'all, these are times that call for us to not lose our celebration. Hold on to your song, but then make sure you're ready to squabble up and fight against injustice, fight against inequity, fight against racism, sexism, toxic masculinity, fight against homophobia, fight against anything that stands against your humanity. Y'all squabble up, and if you squabble up, we shall overcome. And since we gonna overcome, here's the word from Kendrick, and I'm done. All's my life I had to fight, but if God's got us, we gonna be all right. We gonna be all right because God is in control. We gonna be all right because Jesus is your liberator. The Holy Ghost is your power. We gonna be all right because it's in our DNA. We gonna be all right because we know how to go from negative to positive. And in the words of Biggie, and if you don't know, now you know.